Thanks for giving this opportunity. I think after having so many learned speakers, I don't know how I can fill their feet. Now, coming back to the mental ailment, as we all understand in present world, it is very difficult for us to get sick, which we all understand. And in that process, we all do various kind of things. Sometimes we rely on different kind of medications, right? If we have an asthma, we go with the inhalers, or if we have other problems, we go with the antidepressant, or if we have any skin problems, go for others. And then some people will think that living healthy is by fighting with the machine on every day, or running for 7 kilometers a day, or drinking 3 liters of water can give me wonderful health, or even eating just supplements can make me healthy. But then we understand that in spite of all these factors, what is happening is, even though we might be able to achieve that physical wellness, but what is not happening is the increase of all these diseases are still there. Whether we'll talk about the stress, we talk about the clinical depression, we talk about panic attacks, or we talk about other psychiatric diseases. What is the reason? What is the answer also? Reason is very simple, that when there is a pragmatic approach taken by people, things will not happen. Until there is a holistic approach to that wellness, where we talk about the mind, body and soul balance is achieved, it will never happen to us. And interestingly, the thing is, we talk about in Ayurveda the role of mind in these ailment or in these situations, that how we can look at. And the good point is for us to talk about is, nowadays even Western medicine has started accepting the role of mind. They have understood now that mind and nervous systems are two different factors, and that's where the whole aspect of Ayurveda revolve around anyway. But even though that has happened, still the issue is not solved, and the reason is that people are still looking for that superficial level of awareness, and that's where some of the, whether we talk about the medical system or other kind of complementary medicine, they have incorporated to talk about the mind, and to counter the mind they have looked at these some simple options, whether you change your clothes, you get into meditation by closing your eyes and sitting on the beach, or just having wear the Rudraksh mala around your neck and you feel that these things will help me. Unfortunately, that is not happening, and giving you the stats from the Australasia that we have still the 30% population is suffering from our mental ailments on a day by day scenarios. And the reason is not that because how the mind works, no one talk about that, and that's where my focus will come up. Just to give a little bit more into the Western physiology of mind, as we know that we have 4 lobes with the Western aspects. There is a frontal, partial, occipital, then we have a left brain and the right brain. We do understand the function of the right brain. Then we do understand the further component of various endocrine glands there, that what kind of glands are there, what kind of secretions are happening there. And then we also understand about these waves, the brain waves, that how these beta, theta and alpha comes up. And then now we look at, question is, do we know how these hemispheres work and what factor impact on the function of the lobes, and then what makes the different secretions to happen? And answer is very simple. Ayurveda gives us that answer. As compared to our Western medicine, it never talk about that. And that is where you will see that if that mind which we are talking about can play a bigger role, to control that mind we need to understand the qualities of the mind, characteristics of the mind, and what factor diet and lifestyle will impact our mind. Those are the aspects which we took as a part of our clinical study. We made these all components in that clinical study, which I am going to share with you, that how various those aspects we incorporated and what the outcome was. This is where my point is to share with you. And the patient we took up were the stress, panic attack and the depression. These 3 cases we took up in our clinic. And then we look at their age scenarios. They were from the various age groups, and then the symptoms, they were all on the different kind of antidepressant and then the sleeping pills. And then there were some cases who were even on the antipsychotic medications too. So these just the breakdown of those to give you an idea to work out. And we took up again the Prakriti analysis from the Ayurvedic perspective, and then we talk about these aspects. Before the trial began, we also try to keep a diet, their whole documentation of the diet, present lifestyle and history of their general well-being, family history, and then all that aspect of the other medications they were on. And on that basis, which we pick up their diet analysis, this is what their diet analysis was, which was happening in their day-to-day life. What they were eating is based on some of these things which were a part and parcel of that, and we broke that into the 21 meals in the week, that how those scenarios were affecting there. And then we looked at their some of the general feature in relation to their sleep, in relation to their fatigue, tiredness or other components. And that's where how their state of memory was, concentration, energy levels, and how the family support, all those aspects we looked at, and we put that into the average of good, average and poor part. And now on top of that, we also start looking into their lifestyle, and the factors we picked up is they were also having an irregular eating habit, eating on the run, skipping meals, lack of regular routine, late waking up, late nights, fatigued and tired. All those things were happening with them apart from the major problems they were talking about. And then we analyze this based on the Ayurvedic concept of the mind, where we do understand that there are 3 qualities which impact the mind. We call them as in our Sanskrit language Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic, and they can be related with the stimulating, dull and the stable part. So all those foods which they were taking, we broken them into that how the impact were happening on those 3 qualities of the mind. And as you can see, most were falling under the category of stimulating and the dull, and that's where all those food part and other activities were coming up. So this is where the analysis was in relation to the stimulating were the 72%, and then the dull and part. And then the lifestyle factor as we analysis there. And now coming to the mental pathology, which we talk about the Ayurvedic samprapti of the diseases. This is how the issues you can look at, that what is happening is causative lifestyle factors, environment, family, all those were aggravating the state of the mind, which we call as 3 qualities of the mind. And then the mental agni, which is related with the buddhi part, got affected, and then mental lama get produced, and then mistake of intellect, what we just talk about, the pragya prad, they were having inability to make the right decision in their life, and then the nervous system, the physical nervous system start getting affected, and these leads to the various problems, and those problems were stress, panic attack and the various other component, also based on further gradation on their constitution. And then once the mental part comes up, that also start affecting their physical bodily intelligence, vata pitta kapha, which lead to the further physical problems, which we have not covered up here. And now we all understand about the functioning of the mind from the Ayurvedic aspect. As we can see, this is the correlation we always talk about, just to give you an understanding that what was the core part behind that to look at. So the trial was on these 30 cases. Our focus was to enhance the awareness, change to the diet and lifestyle environmental factor, select the specific Ayurvedic therapeutic treatment, and then get it guided meditation, Ayurvedic counseling and all those various aspects we incorporated in that program for them. So when we took up the case, first stage was to eliminate those kind of foods which we feel were causing them dullness and the stimulating factor in their state of mind. And those all foods items were advised to be taken away from them, whether it was a tin food or frozen food, because many of them were having this understanding that even eating organic might make me healthy, but their food which was organic was coming from tin food, right? Organic frozen food was there. So that kind of aspects we also shared with them to not get into that. And then this is where the second stage we incorporated, where we advise them to make certain changes in their lifestyle. And these were the few aspects which we're going to come up, and I will just talk about a few of them on a part. Now, I hope from the Ayurvedic aspect, many of you know, with the limitation of my time schedule, won't be able to go into details of these. But first aspect was, as you might have seen in the previous slide, is we talk about that most of them were waking up late, around about 8, 8:30 or 9 sometime. But we tried to ask them to slowly make changes to get up a little bit early. We did not ask them to wake up at around about 4:30 or 5 a.m. Idea was to just make a little bit change, and even around about 7 a.m. sort of advice we try to give them. And then first aspect we talk about to give is that make an effort when you wake up. The moment you wake up, within 3 minutes you must brush your teeth and scrape your tongue. Now the question sometime might come up, again can't go detail, that what is this tongue scraping, and what is actually happening to our body with that, and why we should be doing that. And many of them, who even though they know that tongue scraping is a wonderful thing, but they won't do it 10 to 15 minutes of their getting up. By that time damage is already done, because if you look at your tongue in the morning, first thing you will find, no matter whatever level you are, there will be always a bit of white coating on your tongue, and that coating is actually nothing but the opportunity given to the body to eliminate that ama which your body is producing. But the problem is, when we don't eliminate that ama will straight away start going into your system, no matter how good food you have eaten, how good exercise you've done, or whatever you are doing. And that ama will become the core cause of all the ailment for us. So that's where the first aspect we talked about. And then we given them another very specific, simple regime to eliminate that ama from the gut by giving them a simple morning drink, which was helping them to eliminate that ama and stabilize their Agni state. And then the nasal drops, it play a major role in mental ailment, because when you talk about the nasal drops, the medicated nasal drop, it has that ability to stabilize the pituitary and pineal gland, which we all understand play a bigger role in the release of serotonin. So that's where this regime was given advice to them. And then they were also given advice to do simple breathing exercise. We don't went into asking them to do the pranayama or something, but the idea was throughout the day do 10 to 15 deep long breathing exercise, which were helping them to stabilize their oxygen aspect. That was the simple focus for us to talk about, that how when the oxygen is coming to your brain, naturally your brain cell will have much more ability to function effectively, and then the coordination can go more and more better. Then one of the main aspect was to avoid the hot shower. I'm sure most of you must be well aware, hot shower is the killer for every problem. But when you have a mental ailment, if someone is having a hot shower, it means we are inviting the more and more problem. Reason behind that is very simple, because heat affects your pituitary and pineal gland more than anything else in the world. So that's where the factor comes up. And then we also made them to get into some exercise. Idea was to give them even a simple walk in the morning to do, and then slowly we incorporate them into getting into a bit of yoga. And then also walking in the morning. So those who were able to wake up even 6 and 6 a.m., we asked them to walk on the green grass, right? Because as we understand how the green grass, the dew present on that will help us to stabilize and calm the mind. And then we made the changes in their diet, and this is the simple diet we given them to have it. Idea behind that was, simple focus was to give them something easily digestible and warm food. So that's where we work out instead of those foods which they were eating beforehand. And then the second stage, we start incorporating some of the Ayurvedic treatments with them. And those are the treatments which we all, I hope, understand and know anyway. So these are the few treatments were there. Shirodhara and other things we all know. Shirobasti is another aspect. Then we come to another stage. The third stage was giving them some clinical guided meditation technique, which we work out according to their various problems. The people who were suffering from the depression, we given them that open eye candle meditation and then the close eye meditation. And the people who were suffering from the stress and anxiety, we work with them the visualize techniques. And then with the depression, we ask them to get into a bit more chanting of the mantra, because each of these technique has their specific impact on these mental and emotional problems. So then we work out, next stage was working with the emotional healing program, because we all understand why actually at a first stage we suffer from the mental ailment. Simple scenario is, when on a day-to-day basis we are not able to empty our mind, when we are not able to process our thoughts, when we are not able to process our emotions. Someone, if it comes to your clinic and talk about that I don't have emotion, I will always say, out of my 38-year experience of practice, that he or she is the biggest liar in the world. Every one of us suffer from or face certain emotion in our life. Difference only is when some of us who can process them on a day-to-day basis, they can be in a much more stable state. Some of us who cannot process, those emotions will then start going and go to the deeper state of the mind, and ultimately they will become the big monster and cause us the mental problem. So that was the whole idea, and then we start helping them to work on this emotional healing program. And then we have the certain treatments we gave them along with the Ayurvedic formulations. So the outcome was, just to share with you about the outcome, that 50 patients completed the trial, right? And their whole outcome was much and much better. This is where you can see their sleep pattern were getting much and better, energy levels, they're dealing with the anger on a daily level, panic attack, and the stress level, depression. These were the things which we found were dramatically getting reduced. But then the question is conclusion. What was the conclusion? Conclusion was that common consensus was, because we took 4 medical doctors from our medical college Auckland who were supervising these clinical trials. For them, cases were given by them. So common consensus was that yes, this kind of complete approach, holistic approach, is much better outcome, and the less chances of relapse. There was better opportunity to handle the problem that arise from their dull lifestyle. And again, scenario was, giving simple drugs are not going to solve the problem until or unless we have a complete approach. And then, but the challenges are the biggest thing which we always have to face, and that's what we are here to talk about. The drug companies focus on their own interests, which we call as drug mafia, right? And medical fraternities still feel that such holistic approach is impossible to implement in the wider community. Ayurvedic medicine still not accepted as a mainstream medicine, or even not to talk about the mainstream as a complete modality is difficult to understand, and people fragmentally taking one element or the other. And then as we talk about that, even in India, Ayurvedic practitioners does not follow this complete approach to well-being. So those are the few challenges which we face, and I think that is where I will try to finish. The signals are coming from here that it is all over, right? But giving me a brief intro here is that if the better sense can prevail, if we all can understand that Ayurveda has that power, and power is only when we follow it in a complete systematic way. No matter whatever you do, I have read and heard so much people that we talk about the Panchkarma and other things we are doing in this part of the world, which is a wonderful work. But don't forget the basic thing. Basic thing is the strength of the Ayurveda. Until or unless we make changes in a systematic way in their lifestyle, in their diet, in the environmental factor, and don't forget about the Dincharya and the Ritucharya, which is daily routine and the seasonal routine. Don't forget the power of that. If we can incorporate that, we can definitely make a change in the community. Thank you, everyone.